edition of The Conversation, we will be looking into the humanitarian situation in Ethiopia as the UN accuses the government of being behind the ongoing crimes and atrocities against humanity in the northern Tigray region.
We will also be looking at the situation in Uganda, where a bill has been passed which attracts huge fines and longer jail terms for the misuse of the internet. We'll be looking at all of this in detail in the course of our conversation. Yes, the world's attention is in New York now. I recall listening to the president of the Central African Republic, Austin Touadera. Yeah, Ashan Touadera was talking about Africa's need for representation in the United Nations Security Council. You would think an organization like the UN will be democratic, but the most important decision-making organ, the United Nations Security Council, is not democratic. The 5 permanent members have the veto power, which can, override the decisions of more than 130
Benga, this has been long discussions, even before the 77th General Assembly. The quest has been, where is Africa's representation on the permanent UN General Assembly seat? And we have lots of situations going on in Africa aside the Russia-Ukraine war. Ethiopia crisis is still ongoing, almost 2 years.
And also climate change. Remember, a few weeks ago, we saw here to discuss the coping mechanism, the funding in the Netherlands, and European presidents, they're the biggest polluters, failed to show up. But we'll get into that some other time. For today, fresh reports by the UN investigators say they believe the Ethiopian government is behind ongoing crimes against humanity in the northern Tigray region. In a report, the Commission of Human Rights Experts in Ethiopia highlighted what it called credible information of large-scale killings committed by Ethiopia's National Defense Force that targeted Tigrayan men and boys of fighting age. The report says human rights violations have been committed by all sides since fighting erupted nearly 2 years ago. It described the humanitarian crisis in Tigray as shocking. In its first report, the International Commission of Human Rights Experts in Ethiopia said it found that violations such as extrajudicial killings and rape have been committed by warring sides in Ethiopia since fighting erupted in the northern Tigray region in November 2020.
Now, Ethiopia's permanent representative to the UN in Geneva, Zeynep Kebede, in its response said the commission was politically motivated and its conclusions were self-contradictory and biased. Meanwhile, TPLF has accused Eritrean forces of launching a full-scale offensive across northern Ethiopia, where heavy combat has been reported on multiple fronts in recent weeks. Now, let's get this saying now from Ethiopia's permanent representative to the UN on the response from the UN investigators.
The report itself is self-contradictory and biased, which doesn't pay any attention to the atrocities committed in Afar and Amhara region, but solely focusing on Tigray. Therefore, we have no other option but to reject this report, as we have rejected the resolution that established it and the very establishment of this mechanism as well. For proximity, the only source they talk to is the TPLF itself. They wrote in their report what was dictated by the TPLF itself. Otherwise, there is no any single evidence that shows the government of Ethiopia used humanitarian aid as instrument of war. Rather,
that was a UN, the Ethiopia's permanent secretary representative to the UN in Geneva, and debunking the accusation from the UN investigators, saying that their reports are biased and politically motivated. Now, join us to discuss all this and unravel the mysteries behind this long-going war in Ethiopia is Kassa Gebremichael, a former Ethiopian diplomat. Welcome to the conversation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So, Kassa, you heard from the Ethiopia's permanent secretary representative. Now, he said that the reports are biased and politically motivated. Meanwhile, the UN investigators say there is evidence that starvation is being used as a weapon of war by the Ethiopian government against the Tigrayan front, amounting to war crimes and crimes against humanity. What do you make of these allegations?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. First of all, the Tigray regional government, not TPLF, the party. The Tigray regional government has accepted the report of the Independent Investigation Commission. When we accept the report, it doesn't mean it satisfies our interest. We are for an independent commission, investigation commission, and they should have also full access, unfettered access to Tigray and to Amhara and to Afar. Any crime in Ethiopia which is committed by any party in the conflict should be investigated. We are ready, Tigray is ready to cooperate with the International Commission, and what is already, the report is acceptable, but this is done while the government of Ethiopia is obstructing their mission. It doesn't allow them to investigate in Ethiopia and as a whole and in Tigray. So we call again, while accepting the current report, we also call for the Ethiopian government to allow independent investigation commission to go to any part of in Tigray and Amhara region. This is the only way out in Ethiopia.
Now, you heard the report of the submission by Ethiopia's permanent representative to the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland, Kassa Gebremichael. He said investigators had ignored atrocities by the TPLF, which Addis Ababa considers a terrorist group. Has there been any evidence to lay proof to these claims? And what are your thoughts on his assertion that, look, because, I mean, in the beginning of the program, we did say that the United Nations investigation team said both sides had committed atrocities. So what do you make of these claims?
Well, my former colleague should have first allowed the investigators to go and investigate in the Amhara region and in the Afar region. What we are saying is the independent commission, whatever is its report, should be allowed. The Ethiopian government should cooperate with the commission, and this rejection, I don't expect the Ethiopian government or my former colleague to accept the report. They are in the they are defending themselves against the crimes they committed in Tigray and in other parts of Ethiopia, while asserting that Tigray is ready to cooperate. We are ready to cooperate if our forces, Tigray forces, are involved in any kind of crime. And we have invited also the independent commissioners to come to Tigray and to investigate. So this is the only option, and the only solution is to cooperate with them and to improve their report if there is a gap.
Okay, but Kassa, Tigrayan forces have been accused of looting humanitarian aid and blocking humanitarian agencies. How true is this, and who can we blame for this needless humanitarian crisis going on right now?
You know, the humanitarian crisis in Ethiopia is, it starts from blocking the public services like banking. Imagine you are working here, your bank account is blocked, and you don't have a salary. It starts from that. And then you are waiting for an international humanitarian aid. This is, and currently it is blocked by the Ethiopian government. Why the government of Tigray could deny the people of Tigray to have access to humanitarian aid? This is the usual accusation of the dictators in Addis Ababa. The world knows that we are ready, we are cooperating, and at the same time, we are lobbying, we are demanding the international community to press the Ethiopian government to allow unfettered humanitarian access. And accusing Tigray is ridiculous.
Now, Kassa, just last week, the Tigray People's Liberation Front said they're willing to engage in talks with the African union, and in the past, without preconditions. In the past, there's always preconditions, and they did consider the African Union, especially a special envoy Olusegun Obasanjo, being biased and too close to the government in Addis Ababa. What do you make of this declaration of a willingness to engage in negotiations with an AU-led team of negotiators, and does this bring any glimmer of hope that, you know, all parties might come to the table soon?
The Tigray regional government is ready for a peaceful resolution of the conflict from day one. This is our principal position. We have never favored a solution by the use of force. It is the Ethiopian government and the Eritrean government who imposed war on the people of Tigray. And we want to alleviate the human suffering, the humanitarian crisis in Tigray and in other parts of the region. And peaceful negotiation is the only way out. That's why Tigray is now ready to negotiate without any precondition. And at the same time, you know, mediators should not be a problem, should not be an agenda at all. And we have accepted the African Union is our organization, despite its limitations. So we are ready for an immediate ceasefire, and we are ready to negotiate for a comprehensive ceasefire and to address the Ethiopian political problem through dialogue and national reconciliation. These are our agendas. Our demands are the withdrawal of the Eritrean troops from Tigray, who are, while we are now talking, war is raging in the mountains of Tigray by the joint force of joint invaders of Tigray, Ethiopia and Eritrea. For your information, we are at war now, and nobody is giving attention, including the African Union and the United Nations. The United Nations had never put the agenda of Tigray. Of course, the Ethiopia and the marginalization is still current by the international community. Considering these all problems in Ethiopia, we are now ready to negotiate any place and any time with under the auspice of the African Union. This is well received, positively received by the international community, by the African Union and others. But the peace needs a partner also. We need a partner. What is the puzzle of the current round of Tigray invasion is this invasion is occurred after Tigray had declared that its readiness to peaceful negotiation. This is what we never understood, and this shows also the intention. They have never changed their original intention to destroy the people of Tigray and to subjugate the people. This is what is happening now, right now in Tigray. The crime is still going on. They are destroying every inch of territory they reached, and still we call upon African brothers to side with the people of Tigray, to voice for the people of Tigray. Thank you.
Okay, Kassa, from your last submission, you stated that Eritrean troops were mobilizing towards Tigray, and I suppose in support of the Ethiopian government. So what exactly is in it for the Eritrean government? Why are they supporting Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's administration?
Well, basically, this is we have. It's very difficult to rationalize Eritrean reason. We cannot find a convincing rationale or reason why Eritrea is siding with the Ethiopian government. It's very difficult to get a convincing reason, but we could somehow develop the hypothesis that is Eritrea is a regime we differ with the Eritrean regime on state building, where Tigray is a democratic is trying to build a democratic society, which the Eritrean government is in fear of it. With Eritrea, we have the same culture, we are the same root, and with the same values, so we can influence each other. Eritrean dictator doesn't want the influence of the democratic progress in Tigray to influence the Eritrean people. He wants to kill the democracy, the young democracy in Tigray, so that it will not influence his rule. So this is one basic foundation and difference with the Eritrean regime. So even the regime in Addis has the same intention. So there is the same similar vision of a strongman leadership against democracy.
Now, Kassa, still staying on the subject of Eritrea, I do recall that Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's Nobel Peace Prize was given because of his relationship and declaration of peace with Eritrea when he ended the war with Eritrea and he made amends with Isaias Afwerki. Now, Asmara is coordinating with Addis Ababa to kill Ethiopian citizens. Is there, how do ordinary Ethiopians feel about this in Addis Ababa, in different parts of the country? That what it basically means is you're inviting a sovereign nation, you're giving them the express permission to kill your own citizens, because that's what this means.
I know my compatriots, Ethiopian compatriots, will not at any moment accept the killing of Tigrayans by a neighboring foreign country, Eritrea. This is how we grew up together and how we were defending our country from foreign invaders. This time around, the government, the war is a war of the friendship is the friendship between Abiy Ahmed and
Isaias,
Eritrean dictator. So even the Ethiopians themselves, they are resisting the people of Ethiopia in different corners of the country. We have now, Ethiopia is mushrooming several liberation fronts. The Oromia movement is known for you, and we have new young movements also because they didn't accept. First of all, they didn't accept the dictatorship in Addis Ababa, and second, they didn't accept also the criminal agreement, mafia accord between Isaias Afwerki and Abiy Ahmed. Originally, even the agreement was it was not a reconciliation between Ethiopia and Eritrea. It was a rapprochement between two dictators to prolong their own rule. This is how we Ethiopians understand the reconciliation process.
All right, thank you so much, Kassa. We do hope that reconciliation efforts this time around, because we had one in March, but unfortunately we had fighting resuming again in August. We do hope that this peace talks actually become fruitful and that peace comes in between Tigray and Ethiopia. Right now, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll look at situations in Uganda where internet law could land Ugandans in jail for 10 years. Misuse of internet law could land you for 10 years. We'll have details after this break.